So I've been maxed for about a year now, and pretty much all I've been doing is PVM goals, learning raids, and training Slayer. I felt like I haven't done skilling in a very long time, and what do you need to do with skilling once you're maxed, right? I thought I would go and try and complete some of the collection logs for skilling things, and I started with Guardians of the Rift, and I only did it a little bit at the release on this account, but now I'm getting really deep into it. And let me tell you, it's actually been some of the most fun that I've had on this game in a very long time. Now, what's the reason why people like PVM and Slayer and bossing so much is because it's challenging, right? There's different bosses, different types of mechanics, different ways of training combat, different combat styles you can use, and it's just something fun and exciting every single time. Some people go to these activities to make money, right? You can make tons and tons of money doing this activity. If you land on, say, the rare drop table at the raids, you could land yourself like 1 billion GP. Even training Slayer, you make a lot of money, right? And you know, most of the creatures in the game anyways have a rare drop table which you can land and makes it more exciting when things like that happen. Skilling, however, though, is very different, right? For the most part, skilling, I'll use like woodcutting as an example. You just walk up to the tree, like a yew tree, and then you chop it, and you know that you're going to be getting yew logs from it. And there's only so much money you can make per hour, and really the only interesting thing that can happen is maybe you'll get a clue scroll from time to time, and, you know, that's about it. You're going to get your yew log. You also will roughly know the experience you're going to get, and you'll also know pretty much exactly how much money you will get every single time. So it's pretty boring when it comes down to it because you kind of just know everything before you're going into it. You can only get this amount of XP, this amount of money, and overall it just becomes really boring, right? So that's why a lot of people don't like training skills, certain ones anyways, like agility or rune crafting, right? I personally trained my 99 rune crafting, doing mostly like natures and law runes, and at the end I finished it off with bloods, right? But it's pretty much the same repetitive process over. You always know what you're going to get. Even with rune crafting, you might have been making a lot of money, but you really always know what's going to be happening each and every single time. You just run to the altar, craft the runes, and then rinse and repeat. So like I've been saying, the past couple of weeks, I've been spending my time at the Guardians of the Rift trying to complete the collection log slot for it. I think this is a great way to actually train rune crafting, right? It's kind of the same concept. You're running to the altars and you're crafting different types of runes, but it's more fast paced, right? It's in a mini game, and then there's tons of different rewards that you can get from it, which you don't really get with the regular method of training rune crafting. So this is where I think skilling bosses did extremely well in old school RuneScape, and I really want them to add a whole lot more of them to explore for different types of skills that will make them more enjoyable, kind of bring like a PVM and more of an excitement aspect to skilling, right? Rather than just knowing exactly what you're going to be getting every single time, right? You could train rune crafting the traditional way. You could still do like the combination runes to get more experience. We still have the ZMI altar, and we still have the nice AFK blood altar method, but now we've got this other option which is more click intensive, right? Not the best experience in the game, but also it's like a middle ground, right? Where you kind of get a little bit more than, say, running nature runes from an altar, but not as much if you were to do something like lava runes. So it's kind of like a middle ground for all players, right? So the elitists can still do the methods that they want. The people that want to AFK can still do the methods that they want. And then for the average player, the player who kind of wants to pay a little bit more attention and maybe have a bit more excitement in the grind, can do something like the Guardians of the Rift and get rewarded for doing so. So this basic skill now goes from the exact same thing of crafting a bunch of runes, but now you got a chance to receive different types of rewards, like these things called abyssal pearls, which you can trade into the shop and buy a ton of cool unique items. You can get a lantern that will help you in the mini game. You know, you can get a different type of pet. You can get a colossal pouch, right? So you get rewarded for actually playing this mini game, and it's kind of like getting like a drop from Slayer in a way, and it's so cool to have collection logs for skilling. Also, it's so much fun to actually just see your KC going up, right? That's why so many people stick at bosses for a very long time. And also, you can get on the high scores and stuff like that. Like, I've done Guardians of the Rift this many times, right? So I think the skilling bosses are great. So I think what makes a skill really fun to train is it doesn't seem like you're training a skill, if that makes any sense, right? So like, for example, whenever I'm like going to God of War's dungeon or on a Slayer task to kill a boss, it really doesn't feel like I'm training my melees, my Slayer, my HP, stuff like that. It feels like I'm, at a boss camping it and trying to get some kills, trying to get better at the boss and make a little bit of money in the process. But at the same time, I'm training a bunch of different skills. And then if you look at something like cooking or maybe even training agility, you kind of know exactly what you're gonna get into, and that's pretty much about it. I remember on the way to my maxing, I would try and do a little bit of agility every single day so that it didn't feel like too much of a grind at the end, but it ended up being like a couple million XP. I just stayed straight at the arty course, and it's boring. Next, I want to look at, say, Wintertodt. Wintertodt is another skilling boss for firemaking, the first one that was actually added to the game, and it's so popular, right? It took firemaking, which in reality is pretty much a useless skill anyways. You make fires and you can make light, and you can also cook on the fires, but cooking ranges are better. So in reality, besides for quest requirements, firemaking doesn't have too much of a use in the game, and you're literally burning money if you think about it. You're just getting logs and lighting them, right? So it took a useless, boring skill into a mini game called Wintertodt, which you can actually go ahead and kill and get some cool rewards. It also happens to be one of the best ways to start an Ironman account, so a lot of people tend to do Wintertodt right when they start their account. When they've got low HP, they can tackle the boss right away, get some good money, some seeds, get a bunch of stuff to start off your account, and then you're going to also be training up your firemaking in the process. And again, for those elitist players that want the best experience in the game, you can definitely just be lighting redwood logs, and it's faster than Wintertodt. Now, I think by far one of my favorite ones has to be Temporis, the fishing one. Fishing is a very slow skill, one of the slower ones in the game to actually max out. You either are going to do it extremely slow way with like carambons or sharks or something like that, or you could do barbarian fishing where you kind of just drop all of the fish that you end up catching, and it kind of again just seems like a weird skill because you're not really gaining much from it. But they made Temporis a game where you go out on a boat and you have to pretty much destroy this fishing boss, and then you get your rewards that way. And then they've added some really cool rewards that will actually help you with fishing outside of the boss, like the tackle box and the fish barrel, which is just so cool. Another one where you can complete a whole collection log slot for a skilling activity. Now sure, lots of other skilling activities do have collection logs, but not as big as, say, the skilling bosses do, right? Where you can get your own like separate pet and really actually grind out the activity and make it a viable method for you to train from, whatever level you can start to 99. Now technically we have Zolcano too, which is like a mining, smithing, and a rune crafting, I guess, skilling boss in a way, but it's more for money than actual experience. Now, a lot of people that come back to the game or say moved over from Runescape 3 or something like that, when they first check out the skilling bosses, they say it's some of the best activities that they've ever done. Especially like way back in the day, I made a group Ironman with one of my friends that haven't played Runescape in a very long time, and they loved Temporis so much, and they said it was one of the best updates that they think that Jagex has ever added. Another great thing about skilling bosses is it makes skilling actually like interactive, right? Most people try and AFK all the skills that they can, and I feel like mining's really been picked on lately. We had that Duke mining, then they kind of like kiboshed that, and now we've got the update for shooting stars, which I actually just tested shooting stars out, and I clicked about 5 or 6 times throughout the entire hour, right? So people either want like very slow methods that they can AFK, they want the either elitist methods where you're gonna be like hella focusing, 3-ticking and stuff like that, or they want something in the middle ground, right? But maybe they don't want to AFK, maybe they want to focus a little bit and have some fun and get some rewards out of it as well. So what if they could make more skilling bosses, right? Like maybe one for mining would be so cool, maybe one for wood cutting, right? I definitely think this is something that they should focus on in the next year. training like traditional runecrafting, I can really only do it for about 2 hours, right? And then, you know, my hands getting tired and I'm just like, I really don't want to do this anymore and I want to do something else. But the other day I was doing Guardians of the Rift for 5+ hours, and it kind of just felt like it wasn't, like the time went by so quickly and it didn't feel like I was training runecrafting, which I think is honestly important. If you're having that much fun training runecrafting, then it's definitely a good update. As long as they don't make it too overpowered and they keep the rewards like balanced, and like I said, like I still have a method that can be better than the minigame so it doesn't just become best in slot, I don't have a problem with them doing this for like most skills in the game. It seems like everyone just wants to do PVM and raids now, and if they can bring some of that excitement into skilling, why not, right? Make it so that you can really kind of focus on any skill that you want in the game. I'm trying to think, certain skills really wouldn't make sense to have like a skilling boss for, like a cooking one really wouldn't make sense, but who knows, they could really make it interesting and like similar to something like Guardians of the Rift. Maybe, I don't know what they could actually do, but obviously it's gonna have to pass a poll and stuff like that. But I feel like any update that would just really change the way like a skill might be and put it into a minigame format, most of the players would end up liking it. Now, of course, it's not going to be as fun as, say, like doing the Chambers of Zarek or the Tombs of a Masket, or even going to God Wars with a bunch of your friends. It's never going to be that much fun, I don't think anyways, but if they can make it more interesting than just running back and forth to an altar, if they can make runecrafting a really fun and exciting skill that has a ton of rewards from it and some nice RNG that kind of just brings excitement to it, then they can do it with a lot of other skills. What do you think about making skilling great again? Let me know down in the comments. Also, I think that the Hunter Guild, which is an update that's coming out soon, is another thing that could help fix skilling, is making every skill in the game have like a guild or a place that you can go to kind of like represent that skill, right? They've done really good jobs with some of them in the game, like the mining guild, we've got the woodcutting guild, right? But it would just be really cool to have one for every single skill. I think it would also help out new players, right? So they could have a place to go to kind of like learn the ropes of every skill rather than just looking at the wiki or looking at a YouTube video or something. Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video today. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite skilling boss is and if you would like more in the game. Thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya later.